This is something that a lot of people have asked me to talk about, and finally I remembered, oh, Millie, you haven't talked about it yet, so I'll do it today. But first and foremost, thank you very much for joining me. My name is Simon Miller. If you've never been on this YouTube channel before, there's a subscribe button down there. Why don't you push it? Because that's what we do on YouTube. It's what happens. You like the video, and you share the video, and you comment, and you do all those kind of things. I'm also on Twitter, SimonMiller316, in case you're interested. But I mean, it's nothing like out of the ordinary. It doesn't tie into any topical event, and it's kind of just something that I think is really important. And I would assume, given what some people have said to me, it's not necessarily. It's kind of weird, right? Because you can only ever see. If you don't know as well, when I do vlogs, we talk about life and mental health and depression and living your life and what you should do, what you shouldn't do, so on and so forth. But one thing I think that a lot of us forget, or maybe we don't, maybe it's just me, and it sounds dumb, right? But you can only look at the world from your own vantage point. It's important to be empathetic and sympathetic and try and learn about other people's views on the world and how they see it and educate yourself. But at the end of the day, you are the center of your world and everything you see comes through your eyes. It sounds dumb, right? But it's true. And because some things come naturally to some people more than it does others, like I had this conversation today. Somebody asked me for some advice about nutrition, and I almost didn't give it to them because I don't want to patronize them. I don't want to make it sound like I don't think they know about this stuff. As it turned out, gave them the information. That's what they wanted. We move on because in my head, everything I guess I've read and learned and educated myself on when it comes to lifting weights and bodybuilding and food and what goes in and what goes out. Again, I never want to come across like I'm being like, oh, I know about this and you don't. And so I guess I'm very lucky in the sense that when it comes to following things that I want to do or engaging with my passions or whatever you want to call it, I just go and do it. And that is what I wanted to talk about today because there are so many people out there to this day, even though this is a cliche in many ways, the reason it's become a cliche is because it hasn't really changed or a stereotype, is that so many times people will tell you, you shouldn't do that because you're going to fail. And that just makes me think, what are you talking about? Like, what kind of life is that to lead? Because you never know what could happen. But also, who is anybody else to tell you what you should or shouldn't do in that regard? And while it sounds cheesy and while it sounds a little bit pathetic, and yeah, we can all walk around it being gritty, hard, and edgy, screw all that, because nonsense. You should always go after your dreams and you should always try and better yourself and you should always put yourself in situations where you feel uncomfortable because deep down it's something you want to give a go, but that's mostly why people feel uncomfortable. You can move yourself out of a zone you've got into where you're used to things, but also the reason a lot of people don't go and do the things that they want to or they hope to do is because they're worried. What if it does work out? Or what if it doesn't work out? And that's the major one. Good. It's awesome if something doesn't work out because you took the step. And that's all you can do before you know what's going to happen. I mean, I always equate this back to me when it comes to pro wrestling. Like, I had loads of people when I said that I was going to start pro wrestling training. Miller, what are you doing? Why do you want to go and be a pro wrestler? Now, luckily, I'm a headstrong son of a gun. And like, I literally don't give a shit what you think. So I went and did it anyway. And there was absolutely a chance I could fail. And you could argue that I did fall on my ass a little bit. You know, I was only doing it for around about 6 months and I got injured in the ring. And we can talk about it now. All the YouTube butt munches, they came out of the woodwork and they said, you stupid YouTuber getting in the ring, you're unsafe, you injury-prone Mother Hubbard, I knew this would happen, serves you right. And yeah, in your lower moments it gets to you, but ultimately you're like, bro, you are spending your time sat somewhere in the world telling me what I went out there and did, that I loved, that I enjoyed, that I trained for 2 years, which makes your argument irrelevant anyway, was a bad idea. Whereas all you're doing with your time is telling me that my life choices suck. Now, I know 100% that if I get to choose between going out there and taking a risk or putting myself in an environment that's fun, exciting, and scary, or going and criticizing someone else's life, I know which one I'm going to get more out of. But it made me realize, given that, like I say, a lot of people get in touch with me about this, sometimes you just got to say it. And that's what we're doing today. We're just going to say it. There is nothing wrong. We did a whole vlog about this, actually, now I think about it. But there's nothing wrong with trying something and then going back home, sitting down, and listening to your brain, your gut, your body, and go, you know what, that's not for me. That is not for me. That's a wonderful thing you can do because you can get a pen and you can cross it off your list. And as soon as it's crossed off your list, it will flutter away from your brain and you don't have to think about it anymore. And even better, 10, 15, 25 years down the line, you don't have to say to yourself, oh, why didn't I do that? Because you did. And you can forget about it within seconds because you go, well, I did try. It wasn't for me. What's next on the agenda? There's an amazing, I think it's a Chinese proverb. Why is it Chinese? It could have come from anywhere, but when I was told it, they said it was Chinese. And they said the best time to do anything is 10 years ago or today. And what that means is, yeah, it is always better you do something earlier, but if you're going to do it right now, because right now is all you have. And I don't think that, and it is scary, of course it is. I remember walking to my car, and I tried wrestling training before, and I'd always given up because mentally I wasn't up for the task. It was only when I went this time that I'd grown mentally or whatever to the point I could take it. But I remember walking to my car and saying to myself over and over again, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Because it seemed so audacious that I was going to walk into a wrestling trainer center, whatever you want to call it, a wrestling school. Wrestling school would have been better as opposed to wrestling trainer center, because no one has ever called a wrestling school wrestling trainer center, the WTC. I thought, yeah, well, what are you doing? And I went there, and it was really hard, and it kicked my ass. And I remember going home, and I ached, and I still got up the next day, and I went again and again and again. And eventually, I started to realize, you know what, I like this. There's something in this. I want to see it through. And then, luckily, I was offered an opportunity, and it went from there. And I'm in the perfect position to sit and go, well, would I go back and do things differently, given that I did get my shoulder separated on a Defiant paper? You're damn right I do. I would, sorry. Am I going to go back when all is said and done? Yes, I am. In fact, that could happen very soon. So you should keep your eyes on Defiant as a cheap plug. But I think it's one, and also there's nothing wrong with if you don't want to do that either. Again, we're just using quotes now, but that amazing John Lennon quote that, and this isn't right, I always paraphrase it, all get it wrong. But essentially the idea of it is that, if you sit around and do nothing and quote unquote you're wasting time, but it's wasted time that you enjoyed, you didn't waste your time. Because your time is all you've got, really. We made up currency and all this kind of stuff, but your time is your time, and it's totally up to you how you use it. So if you want to go out there and be a dancer, do it. If you want to go out there and be a baker, do it. If you want to go out there and be, I don't know, an airplane pilot, an astronaut, a teacher, I may have already said that, I can't remember, an actor, an actress, a singer, someone's got to do it. Like, you look at somebody like Ariana Grande and you put them on this huge pedestal. She's just Ariana Grande. She's really talented, but she's just a human being like everybody else. And she didn't just fall into it, she had to put herself in that position. And some people naysay and go, well, she had friends in the right places. Okay, maybe she did, but maybe she didn't. There's plenty of success stories of people who started from nothing and they climbed their way up to the top. In fact, there's a lot of songs about it as well. So, no matter what it is, no matter how audacious or far-fetched it seems, just go and do it. Go and do it tomorrow. Go do it next week. Even if you want to play ping pong, you want to get to table tennis, find out what time you can rent out your local table tennis table and just go and play. You don't know. Maybe in 10 years' time, well, 10 years is a bit much. Maybe in 1 year's time, you'll be competing in a tournament. Then maybe the year after that, you're in the Commonwealth Games. I don't even know if table tennis is in the Commonwealth Games. But there's nothing wrong with trying. And that's what it's all about. It doesn't always have to, equal incredible success. It doesn't have to define you. It doesn't have to be the be-all and end-all. And you don't have to beat yourself up if you fail or it's not for you. You will have some down moments, but that's when you'll learn. And also when you can actually dig in deep and say, do I still want to do this? And never, ever, ever be ashamed by walking away as long as it's what you truly want to do. Don't let anybody influence you. Obviously, take advice and listen to your friends and family. But if you've got that thing, it's always in your stomach, right? It's in your gut. I always used to call it the hole. The hole is there, and it basically tells you and says, look, all this other stuff like relationships, money, jobs, whatever, that's all cool, but you've got to fill this hole with something. And 9 times out of 10, it can be relationships, of course, you need to sort it out for your own life. But I've always found within mine, 9 times out of 10, it's that weird, passionate thing that I want to get involved with. And I'm very lucky in the sense that my brain is wired. If I want to do something, within 5 days, I will be doing it. Like, I guess it's almost a fear, you could argue, a fear of knowing that we're all on a clock. And if you don't drag your ass to these things, then no one else is going to do it for you. There's that, some people say that no one deserves anything. And I kind of understand what they mean. I mean, some people obviously do, depending when you look at it specifically. But in the grand scheme of things, nobody deserves anything. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. And it sucks. And sometimes it makes you want to punch yourself in the face. But it's because it's life. And you've got to move yourself into these situations and just see where they go. I find that's half the fun. Half the fun is putting yourself in and going, well, who knows where it's going to go. If you had told me 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, that the first part of my wrestling journey was going to end getting a pretty life-affirming reaction coming out at a Royal Rumble-esque event in Newcastle, I'd have been like, well, I can't see that happening, but it did. And it still makes me smile to this day. And between you and I, I'm a bit of a loser, and I watch it every now and then, and I smile. So you don't know, and everyone's path is going to be different, which is why you can't listen to anybody else. And usually, if somebody is telling you that, it's one of two things: a, they failed in their own lives, which sucks because it would be much better if they were able to educate themselves from that and learned and moved on to something else. But also, some people just don't want to see other people do well because it's a reflection on them. They look at it selfishly and they go, why I'm doing well? And the reason is, well, not necessarily them. Although I would say if someone comes at you that negatively, it probably is because of them, because they have a negative outlook on life. And that sucks too. And that's something that would be great to address at one point as well, that you are allowed to have a negative outlook on life and you are allowed to be melodramatic and you're allowed to be sad, but there's got to be a line to it as well where you kind of dust yourself off and carry on, because again, you have to, because no one else is going to do it for you. No idea what I'm going to call this now. I was going to call it something like "No, you can't do it," but now I think maybe I should call it something to do with my wrestling. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Either way, thanks very much for watching. Ranty and crazy this one, but I enjoy it. They are all backed by Patreon. If you want to do that, there'll be a link in the bio below. It's part of the default uploads that I put in. Always like to shout that out, and thank you to everyone on there. More importantly, thank you to everybody on there that supports me. It's really kind of you, and you allow me to do all the things that I do. So yeah, we'll be back soon. Enjoy your Thursdays if you're watching this on day one, and I'll see you again soon.